time, things always go back in a way, things cycle. And I'm really curious to see like what the next 2-3 years is gonna be like, because everything has really been flipped on its head in a lot of ways. And I think it's gonna take a lot longer than people are hoping for, like the air quote music scene to air quote recover, whatever that means, from everything that's going on right now.
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
it's been cool to see a lot more people that are taking time to like maybe build up a home studio and learn recording or learn video editing and all of that stuff. Just seeing bands putting more into the creative process, because I do think that the best thing that the pandemic has done for underground artists, I think, is it's like stopped them from playing too many shows or being in that bubble of like, I'm just going to play, the same 5 local clubs every other week until I die. And I mean, there are a lot of people that are happy doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think that, if you want to grow as an artist, getting outside of that bubble and actually being forced to put more time into just like creating better work, writing better songs, getting better at recording, and just fine tuning things, it's going to do everybody a lot more good in the long run if they stick with it than, playing that same hour set to the same 30 people every other week.
Right. And now, I'm thinking about challenges with like today's landscape on the music. For example, we were doing a music video yesterday, and I was having a conversation with the director about, I was like, I want to do the video in 4K. And he was like, well, we can, but it doesn't really matter because most people are going to watch it on their phones.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I was having that same conversation about the music. So we're spending all this time and energy and effort, getting it mixed and mastered, and it sounds awesome on your reference monitors. And then people are going to just listen to it on their phone, or they're going to listen to it on their laptop speakers. So what happened to all that beautiful dynamic range, that lushness is just gone. And that's just the reality. I mean, people are not going to just go back to, nice hi-fi systems there. Some people do have that, but I think the majority of people, even my friends, they'll just listen to the track on the phone, or they'll watch a few seconds of the video on the phone, and then they're done. So, what are we going to do, man? So I don't know if there's an answer for that. It's just, that's just the nature of the beast.
That's definitely something that is on my mind a lot, because I self-produce pretty much everything that I put out. So I definitely think a lot about that. But then if I think, maybe, my experience, cause like I'm in the middle here. Like there are kids that are a lot younger than me, and I have a feeling that you're just a little bit older than me. I'm 35, just to throw that out there. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, I don't think like, while I'm listening to music on a turntable or, through a home stereo, I don't know how good that home stereo was in hindsight. And also a lot of the music that I was listening to, I was watching on MTV through television speakers. And I don't know how great those speakers were. I don't think the headphones that I had on my Discman or my Walkman were all that much better or worse than what is available on today's standards. So in some ways it's different. In some ways it's the same. I think that it's really easy as an engineer to get caught up in all of that nuance and detail that unfortunately the majority of people aren't going to notice. Like, the dynamic range in a guitar, being over compressed and sounding like hell to me or you. Most people are going to be like, it's a guitar. That's a snare drum. It's a song. It's just like, you better just have a strong, rhythm, chord, melody. Don't worry too much about the other stuff. If it's a good song, it's going to transcend any of the needs for like the dynamic range to sing. But I totally understand where you're coming from, being an engineer.
Yeah. And that's a good point. So my thought was like, so maybe I don't care so much about the mix.
Totally.
Maybe I don't care so much about getting it mastered out in London, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And so we ended up shooting the video in 1080p. We didn't use 4K because he said we don't need to. And he was mentioning, even if like in YouTube, if you just put in there that the video is 4K, somehow it ends up looking better, even though it's not 4K. So there's something with the YouTube engine. It opens it up more if you just tell it that it's 4K, even though it's not.
Yeah.
So that's what he said. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in terms of me filming stuff, the only reason that I ever shoot stuff in 4K is like I will shoot stuff in 4K but edit it in 1080. So instead of having to like digitally zoom in, you already have like a large scale image where you can kind of pick and choose where you want to crop stuff from, which is good for like big wide. If you're doing like wide angle full band shots, and it's like, oh, I want to close up on the guitar player. Now you can just kind of crop in,
just zoom in on there.
But if you don't have like very, very nice equipment too, it can be a nightmare because like, you know, cameras overheat and they can't shoot for as long a period of a time. And the file size is
batteries run out.
Yeah. The file size is a nightmare shooting in 4K. Like you really have to have a pretty nice setup. And for the long run, if people were just going to be watching it on a 3-inch screen.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky, they'll watch the whole video. That's
yeah,
the thing
we're
too.
lucky we'll watch the whole video.
Going back to that attention span thing too, it's like, you know, how much work do we want to put into, you know, all of that sort of stuff where it's like, maybe we just got to focus on making a good video. Let's just write a good song. The quality, the technical details don't matter so much anymore. You know, like some of the most famous people in music right now in modern music are getting famous from TikTok, which is like, you know, 720p videos of people just singing at a phone with zero production effort whatsoever.
Yeah. I haven't made the leap to TikTok, man. I actually avoided Facebook for years until I finally caved in, but